On this week's edition of The Overtime, we'll look into how Northern Arizona spring sports are dealing with winter weather. Then, we'll explore sports across the pond in the United Kingdom. Finally, a softball update on Coconino season. All that and more on this edition of The Overtime. Hello and welcome to The Overtime, Northern Arizona's only sports show. I am your host, Connor Emery, and I am joined by my co-host, Adriana Sparks. Adriana, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Connor. I'm so excited to be here as you make your TV debut. Now we have a lot of exciting content to share with you all, so let's just jump right in with high school athletics. While this year's winter has been significantly less grueling than last year, the snow has still been a roadblock for some of our local sports teams. Coconino High School Athletic Director Eric Fries says that the unpredictable snow and rain has caused him to reschedule or even forfeit some high school sporting events, including a rivalry sand volleyball game between Flagstaff and Coconino that had to be canceled yesterday.
Who knows what we're going to get? Granted, it wasn't a lot, but at the same time, people they have it in their head. Well, the snow's gone, which leaves 3 to 4 inches of water on my field. So even as we get all the infield as best dry we can, it continually seeps from the outfield to the infield, and we still have they end up with the same problem. We might get a game or two maybe in this week. I don't even know.
Despite the frustrating weather that has affected Coconino sports, Fries is impressed with how these student athletes have adjusted and is confident that despite the weather limitations, Coconino was able to compete at the highest level.
We always make fun, we facetiously say if we would win the state championship in indoor baseball and softball every year. Is it a disadvantage? Yes, but I think we accommodate for the fact that they have that at a disadvantage, and that just makes them work that much harder. And we get the skill set is a little bit different, right? They get to practice a lot more things inside that those teams down in Phoenix wouldn't get to practice.
Hopefully the weather improves soon so these local teams can play, Adriana. Over the break, I traveled to the United Kingdom where I was able to catch a Manchester United match. While this is not Northern Arizona sports, I was able to see how sports fans show their passion for their favorite team outside of America. On this week's edition of The Overtime, I'm here at Old Trafford Stadium in Manchester, United Kingdom, where I'll be asking sports fans what they love most about football and what their favorite memory is. Rain or shine, almost 80,000 Manchester United fans gather at Old Trafford to enjoy some soccer, or in British terms, football action. In the UK, football is considered to be the biggest sport along with most countries outside the US. Some fans travel across the country or even across the world to watch Manchester United. I talked with a couple fans outside the stadium to get their input of what the sport means to them.
For me, football is just an excitement. It's the adrenaline of it, the game, the atmosphere, and it also brings people together.
I love coming up to the ground because it's just the most amazing vibe, a fantastic experience, and it's nothing like it. Watching it on TV is great, but being here is 10 times better.
With the club being organized in 1878, there have been many historic and personal moments throughout the years that fans will always remember.
My most powerful memory of United, it's my first game, September 1981, when United beat Swansea 1-0. And I'll never forget the roar of the crowd, the first sight of the pitch, seeing the players come out, and all those years later, the rush that I get from being here is the same as it was back in 1981.
One of my favourite memories is the treble, of course. So I wasn't able to be here, but I remember being in a small farmhouse in Germany, turning on the TV, watching it, and feeling that incredible excitement and jubilation.
Those who attend a football match at Old Trafford are sure to experience great moments like this. Connor Emery, NAZ Sports. So the match I went to, Adriana, was actually the FA quarterfinal matchup between Manchester United and Liverpool, where it went into extra times and Man United won on the last second goal 4-3. It was probably one of the best sporting events I've probably been to in my entire life.
I have to be honest, I don't know anything about football outside of the American sport, but Connor, you might have sparked a new interest for me. I mean, I've never seen a group of such enthusiastic fans.
Yeah, it definitely was crazy and loud. I mean, when the last goal happened, the stadium reached over 110 decibels, which probably the loudest environment I've probably been of. But going back to America, March Madness has started and rumbled through the country. It sure has brought some incredible games and moments from this year's tournament. Sports reporter Noah Butler is in the studio to tell us more.
Thanks, Connor. This first week has certainly been a memorable one. For the first time since 2019, all 4 number 1 seeds are in the Sweet 16. UConn, UNC, and Purdue have dominated their way to their spots, while Houston squeaked past Texas A&M in overtime to book their ticket. All 4 number 2 seeds made it to the Sweet 16 as well, as Arizona, Iowa State, Tennessee, and Marquette moved on. 2 of the 3 seeds are joining the top, Illinois and Creighton. Rob Dillingham and the Kentucky Wildcats were upset in the round of 64 by Oakland and Jack Golke, and Baylor was bested by Clemson in the round of 32. Kentucky was not the only team to get upset early, as Auburn lost to an Ivy League school this year. The Yale Bulldogs held on for a 78-76 win. Kansas almost fell victim to an upset at the paws of the Samford Bulldogs, but a late foul sealed victory for the Jayhawks. However, Kansas was thoroughly defeated by Gonzaga in the next round. That'll be all from me for this brief update of what has been a wild tournament. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Noah. It has very certainly been an exciting season of March Madness, and I am so excited to see who ends up in the Final Four in Phoenix, especially because we will have our own coverage team at State Farm Stadium for the championship. Now, we're headed into a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, sports reporter Lydia Schwieters is in studio to take us on a trip to Camino de Oeste in Tucson for this week's edition of Get Out There.
How prepared is your family if a wildfire shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or an earthquake? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Testing. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
Welcome back to the Overtime. Sports reporter Lydia Schwieters went on an exciting hike outside of Flagstaff. She's in the studio to tell us more.
Over spring break, I was in the desert terrain of southern Arizona to see some scenery I don't see often. On this edition of Get Out There, I'm in Tucson exploring the Camino de Oeste Trail and the Bowen House. The Camino de Oeste Trail became part of the Tucson Mountain Park in 1983. While on this hike, you can see saguaro cacti, cholla cacti, poppy flowers, and animals like bunnies, cats, and white-tailed deer. This trail is also known to be a popular place for bird watching. There were plenty of surrounding rocks to go climb as well. The house was built in the 1930s by the Bowen family, and all that remains is the stone structure. It is approximately a 1.5-mile hike to get to the Bowen family house. The stone walls that remain serve as a reminder to the hikers that they are walking through history. You can see where the windows used to be, and if you go inside, you can see where the fireplaces were as well. Thank you for exploring Tucson with me. Lydia Schwieters, NAZ Sports. I had so much fun exploring. Back to you guys on the desk.
Thank you, Lydia. Arizona is truly so mesmerizing. I can't believe that unique views like this are only a few hours south.
Definitely. I'll have to check that out next time when I'm in Tucson. But we'll be taking a short break, but when we come back, sports reporter Hannah Hamilton will give us a look at Coconino's softball season. Don't go anywhere.
Is your family in need of more quality time together?
Hello, I'm Dr. Spruce. Nature is best enjoyed together. So bring the whole family to discover all the bonding and stress-reducing benefits parks and forests have to offer. Visit discovertheforest.org and trade in phone time for family time.
Birds, squirrels, chipmunks, grass, worms, bugs, trees, rocks, and other objects in nature cannot talk. If you'd like to have a conversation while visiting nature, you will need to bring humans along. We strongly recommend starting with your family.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back. High school football is ramping up for both Coconino and Flagstaff High. Sports reporter Hannah Hamilton is in studio with more.
Thanks, Adriana. Coconino High School's varsity girls softball team shut out the Cactus Cobras 18-0. After the win Friday, Panthers' overall record is 10-5, and they're on a 3-game winning streak. I spoke to them after the game. The Cactus Cobras 18-0 on Friday afternoon. The Panthers came into the game 9-5, while the Cobras were just 2-8. With the win, the Panthers go into this week on a 3-game win streak, with all 3 of those games being shutouts. The Panthers have one of the best pitchers in the region, junior Caitlin Sow, leading the 4A Grand Canyon with 118 strikeouts and an earned run average of 2.25. Also to note, senior Alyssa Faulkner has made a name for herself with 19 RBIs, tied with Flagstaff Eagles junior Hallie Watkins.
For the next game, I think definitely staying ready, being prepared for what's gonna come, because you never know really, because we do have one of the best pitchers in the region. So when someone hits, I feel like it's kind of surprising. So
we did really good defensively and offensively. We worked really good as a team, and we just came together and really did our job.
Coconino's defense had no fielding errors in that game, and also their catcher, Alyssa Faulkner, didn't allow a stolen base.
I think it was a great team effort. Obviously, Queso on the mound, Alyssa behind the plate, controlled all the hitters, just giving up 2 hits. And we came out with some good hits of our own and aggressive base running.
Coconino senior Alyssa Faulkner and Flagstaff junior Hallie Watkins are both leading the 4A Grand Canyon's RBI stat, tied with 19 apiece. Also to note, Coconino junior Caitlin So is sitting atop the strikeout category with a total of 118. Including 1 no-hitter so far this season. That's all the softball updates I have for you today. Now back to Connor at the desk.
Thanks, Hannah. It'll be exciting to see how those teams finish out their seasons. Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of The Overtime.
I want to thank our sports reporters Lydia Schwieters, Noah Butler, and Hannah Hamilton, and I'd also like to thank my co-host, Connor Emery. I'm Adriana Sparks, and we'll see you next Tuesday for the next edition of The Overtime.